are attacked, it is my problem. It's not our problem, it's my problem all of a sudden. And that's a shame. Thank you so much for your question. I appreciate that. Amen.
Thank you, sir.
This is why it's so important for us to be allies and stand next to each other to support one another. Crime is crime. And so if you want things to be peaceful, you got to work through those communities. And as a counselor, people don't commit crime just out of the blue. There are so many factors that are part of it. And actually in Peoria, I went to 2 rallies in Peoria. It is not true that someone was not killed in Peoria through police brutality.
I also heard that and noticed.
Yes. So if you look at the newspapers and if you read the stories, it's there. So if we want to change Peoria, if we want to change Chicago, if we want to change Detroit, if we want to change whatever across the United States, just like any other problem that we face as a nation, we have to unite with one another. And it cannot be all of it on one group of people, because that is unjust. That is not correct. And we have a moral obligation to address it as a nation, not as pockets of people. Because that's not how we solve problems. That's not how your school solves problems. That's not how our town solves problems. We don't do it in pockets. We do it together. So keep that in mind, please. Sorry.
So I'll take 3 more questions, and then if there are any people who don't feel comfortable asking a question on such a large platform, I'd love to engage in that question in a more peaceful, in a more private way. Do you have a question, sir?
Yeah, simple. How come so many Americans don't get the idea that God does not make garbage? Why do we have so many that don't believe that?
Okay, interesting question. Why are there so many Americans that don't understand that God doesn't make garbage? It's a unique question. Interpret that how you want, but I'm choosing to interpret it in the sense that if you subject to believing in a certain religion, you believe in God, which I do, you realize that God makes no mistakes. All right? God makes no mistakes. There is beauty in God's creation. There's always been beauty in God's creation. And the saddest part is, when you look into history, there was so much time where people were mistreating and abusing the power that they had to mistreat God's creations. So I'm not trying to make this overtly religious, but I love that question. Thank you so much. God doesn't make mistakes.
Oftentimes we talk about Black Lives Matter, but the response has been all lives matter.
Yeah.
Could you share your views on that comment?
Of course. Black lives are a part of all lives. So if Black lives don't matter, all lives can't matter. Right? So seems really simple, right? Seems really simple. But let's take it even a little deeper, right? Let's use another analogy. I love these analogies. You got a neighborhood full of houses. One house is on fire. The other houses matter. But the house that is on fire is the one that needs the immediate attention. Right?
That's right.
The house that is on fire is the one that needs immediate attention. Even to take this biblically quickly. When Jesus was like, pray for the poor, can you imagine if people in the crowd were like, no, Jesus, pray for everybody? It's obvious that everybody deserves and should be getting prayer. It's obvious that all of these houses are important. It's obvious that all lives matter. But this is us asking for help, because historically and statistically, our lives have not mattered. The house that is on fire is the one that needs immediate attention before we can go and admire the beauty of the other houses that aren't in danger. Does that answer your question? Great question. Thank you so much.
Last one, anybody? Please, sir.
Can I make another comment?
Thank you, sir.
Understood. Great commentary. Thank you. One last question, and then I'll do some private ones if you'd like. Make it good. One more good one. Anybody, please. Yes, please. So the question was, how do we help other people realize their privilege? So I think there are a lot of ways to do this. Yep, great question. So if you want to use that example, I think that's a great example to just kind of put it into perspective. But I think when you're helping people understand their privilege, you start the conversation by letting them know they don't have to feel bad for having it. You don't have to feel bad for being a white individual who was fortunate enough that colonization didn't affect you the same way that it affected minority individuals. Don't feel bad for that. I think when you start the conversation, you open it up with this beauty and positivity with saying like, hey, I appreciate you like choosing to engage in this conversation with me. First, I don't want you to feel bad because of the privilege that I'm going to try to explain that you have. Secondly, realize that sometimes it's difficult to understand that you have privilege because that's become your normal way of life. You have put on blinders so the things that others see as your privilege, you don't see as your privilege. If you're in the front row, you don't care about that extra credit because you know you have a better shot than the people in the back row. You're not thinking about them because you're thinking about yourself and the extra credit. But I think once you're able to open their eyes, let people with privilege realize that you shouldn't feel bad for your privilege, but you should utilize your privilege, I think then people are more understanding that we all have power inside of us. Some are more fortunate in some ways than others, but with that power, we have the ability to facilitate change. Does that answer your question? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll be around. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. You were wonderful. Alrighty, friends. Again, my name's Brooke McClaskey. If you guys have any questions, you know where to find me, here on the square, or find me on Facebook. Jay Shree, I just wanted to say thank you one more time.
Thank you so much for coming and being present. And remember, be an ally. Be a supporter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Nice job.
Oh, are they marked?